Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, we had 2 days of spring, and now I guess we're into summer. It was quite warm yesterday. I think went up to like 24 degrees or so. Today it's supposed to go up to 26, so not getting too far away from 30-degree heat here. Those are my butter crunch lettuce plants, which I put in yesterday late afternoon, and they promptly wilted. They've been growing in the hoop house for, I don't know, 10 days or so. So anyway, I watered them in good last night, and some of them are starting to perk up, so there's a hope anyway. However, for the last several days, out in front of my house, nibbling on weeds and tall grass, I've had a very healthy looking snowshoe hare, big bunny rabbit, a big brown one this time of year. They're white in winter, but they've turned completely brown now, and I think he's just waiting till I get the lettuce out, but we will see what happens here. I was tempted to grow it in containers, and I thought, nah, you've got the space, you might as well put it in the garden, so that's what I've done. Next to the lettuce we have this bed of weeds. I think the part that you're looking at probably doesn't show the tansy, but there's also tansy in one corner. I haven't been able to decide what I should do. Hopefully you can see my asparagus coming up through it. Normally in the fall I put a layer of composted chicken manure and barn dressing, whatever, on it, and I forgot to do that last fall. It eventually grows up in weeds, but that usually suppresses it for a while in the spring. I thought if I weeded it out, I would probably destroy the asparagus, so I have left it alone. I'll have to get at it, I guess, once the asparagus is finished. But today will be my first picking by the looks of things. I'll have enough asparagus to go with dinner tonight. And I moved my strawberry seedlings out into their round bed 3-4 days ago. And nothing has bothered them so far, and they took to the transplant quite well. They're perked right up, and I think I can even see where they have grown some, being out in the full sunlight. So no threats of any blossoms there or anything yet, but it is an ever-bearing variety. Usually would have its major amount of fruit in June, like most strawberries do, but could continue to produce right through until frost, just not as many. So hopefully sometime this summer I'll get to taste the strawberries. Showing you a hole in the ground. I have no idea what does that. I know there have been voles, but that's 10 times larger than a vole would ever dig. I'm thinking either raccoon or porcupine, digging to see if they can find grubs. Well, they won't find any grubs in that. It's all that new organic pro-mix. I plant something in there and they come along and do this, I'm in trouble. I think that bed is going to have my beans, bush beans. I've got 2 varieties, an heirloom variety and then a commercially purchased variety. So they won't go in for another week or so yet. The soil really has to be nice and warm for your beans. The garlic is coming along nicely, the ones that the voles didn't get anyway. And I planted spinach in amongst it, and they are starting to get their first sets of true leaves and whatever, but spinach does not like hot weather, and I think we're into summer weather here now, so I expect that to bolt. I don't know why I keep trying. I have no luck growing spinach, but I tried once again this year. Well, I transplanted my brassicas yesterday into the cage thing here, the screen-in area, to hopefully fool the cabbage looper moth. There's a row each of broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Scotch kale. If you can see back in the corner, back there hopefully, one of the stakes, I drove a stake, that one back there, just a piece of a tree that I cut off, a sapling, whatever. I drove those into the ground a few inches in all 4 corners, and they're at least 3 feet tall. The theory being that the thing will no longer collapse on itself when we have wind. It has not been a problem with it pulling up the stakes and flying away. The problem, as I showed you in one of my other videos, was the thing collapsing down, and I worried about it destroying the plants in there. A couple of people suggested those stakes in the corners, and actually the instructions that came with it said in high wind areas it would be wise to do that. So that's what I've done so far. I haven't done anything as far as putting I'm going to say rope, but strings on it or whatever to help it from blowing down. I'm thinking this might solve the problem. We'll have to wait for the first windy day to find out. But my brassicas are hopefully going to be without cabbage loopers. Well, the peas continue to grow nicely, and I have seen one or two vole holes, and I think a plant or two missing where I saw the holes, but so far their attack hasn't been very bad on the peas. And as you can see, I put in my pea brush or stakes or whatever. Both varieties, the Yorkshire Hero and the commercial variety that I'm growing in there, are both bush varieties. They don't grow any more than 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. But I always find that they also can need some support. So with those sticks, some of the plants will grab onto the sticks, and other plants will grab onto that plant, and hopefully they won't all go face down in the dirt. It used to be a perennial garden out here, flower garden. It's overrun and long forgotten about, but there are still some daffodils that dare to come up, and a small bunch of tulips I'll show you in a second here. Brave tulips growing in amongst the wild blackberry vines, which are lethal. There's no way you can prune one of those things back without it getting you and the blood running down your arm somewhere. My row of radishes with a row of carrots either side are doing very well. The radishes are all getting their true leaves now, and they develop so rapidly. Hopefully in a week or two I'll have radishes to enjoy. And I'll try to give you a little close-up of the carrots. At this distance they're very hard to see. They have done very well. I used pelletized seed, which I have done in the past but haven't done for a few years now. Each one looks like a little white BB. I don't know what the coating is, something that dissolves once you water them in the ground. But it's so much easier when you're planting them, because you can see each seed and you know that you haven't dropped 10 seeds in one area. So, and there was enough pelletized seeds in the little package that I bought that I could do this for 2 or 3 years from now and still not run out of seeds. Let's have a look at some carrots anyway. Hopefully that's in focus, and I've actually got it pointed at some carrots. This is little ones here, and they're starting to get their true leaves. Once they get some true leaves, it'll be much easier to see as they grow up with their frond-like growth on them, but very pleased. Planted them the earliest I've ever planted them, just as soon as the soil could be worked. And of course they didn't germinate immediately, but they germinated just as soon as the soil was warm enough. This is the Asian pear. The last time I did one of these updates, 10 days ago or so, I guess, they were showing just the blossom buds, but if it actually gets up to 26 degrees this afternoon here, those will mostly all burst open, and there have been a lot of bumblebees working the hascap flowers just next to them, so a good chance that they'll also get pollinated. The bumblebees are loving the hascaps. This is the largest of the 3 hascap bushes. I don't remember the variety of any of them, but this one was meant to be the pollinator for the other 2 bushes, which are quite shorter. So the bees are flying from one to the other, so hopefully I'm going to have enough hascaps to make jam. Things are coming along nicely in the greenhouse. I'll give you a close-up of a few of them in just a moment here, but the only thing that is under the draperies here now are my overgrown tomato plants, my cold tomato plants. Brought them out a couple of days ago. There's nothing left in the light garden in the house. It's all out here. I don't know, by early next week I will plant them. They're all going to be planted in here anyway, but I don't want to put them right in the direct sunlight first thing. That would sunburn them, I'm sure. So after they've been under that for the better part of a week, I'll plant them. And the onions and shallots are doing really well. They have completely straightened up now and are growing new leaves. And I do see an area that I had not noticed until just now. I can get that in here or not. But down there, something was digging in them last night. Doesn't appear that too many of them are knocked over or anything, but I suspect that would be the voles. I went down and had a look at that place where I thought something had been digging in the onions, and it hadn't been. It's just where I managed to get some soil up on the side boards there that hold the bed together. So a panic attack over with. What you're looking at are my cosmos and beets. 100% germination in the cosmos, more than 100% actually. I put several seeds in each one and I've just eliminated them and only have one in each pot now. And the beets, excellent germination. If you can see, there are like 2 or 3 plants in each, or some of the little cells. I think I've seen as many as 4. I very carefully put 1 seed in each one of those. So obviously this is not a hybrid variety that has had the multi-seed and a little capsule thing bred out of it. There are varieties that you can buy that won't do that, but I don't mind at all. I'll plant them in little clumps. That's what Southpaw Davy does and has great luck with it. And they will also be planted in here in the hoop house. I have better luck in here than anywhere else. They seem to like the heat. I have to make sure I water them every day to keep them watered, but they won't be going in the ground in here for probably 2 weeks yet. I'll let them get their true leaves first. This is the red curry squash, or Hokkaido pumpkin, whichever you call it. I really like the thing, just eating it as a squash. And also there's an Asian soup made with coconut milk and various seasonings that is delicious, made from this squash. I've had pretty good germination and they're still coming. I see one there now that's just barely poked through, so I may get closer to 100% yet, but I only need maybe 4 or 5 plants. This is golden chard. 15 pots, I guess. Paused while I counted there. And I think I see 3 that don't have anything up in them yet. And they may come, but they may not also, because these started germinating quite some time ago. I will only need maybe 3 or 4 for myself. I'm thinking now that I may be able to have a small plant sale. You'll see as we go on here, and I show you how many I've got of some varieties that I certainly would never need that many. So perhaps a tiny little plant sale here to share with some of the people on the island who are having difficulty finding plants this year with the border closed. These are the Costata romanesca, an Italian heritage zucchini, and the germination there has been wonderful. There's just 1 pot so far that nothing has come up in. And some of them are just popping up in the last day or so there's a chance that might come up yet. But for zucchini and these things, I think produce quite a bit. I won't plant more than 3 of them myself. I don't think I will anyway. These are the baby blue Hubbard, which have started coming on quite nicely, but there's still, I think I see 5 pots there that nothing's up in, but there were some that came up as late as yesterday. So, and I think one of the pots that I say there's nothing up in, I can see where there's a seed starting to come up through. This is another Japanese variety called Black Futsu. I grew it, 2-3 years ago. I think I only managed to get 1 or 2 squash, but I really liked them. They're not really black, but they are a very, very dark green. So more than enough there to plant a good-sized patch of those as well. And those are the European gherkins. And there's only 2 pots, I guess, so far that there's nothing emerged in. These will be grown in here in the hoop house. They're what's known as a parthenocarpic variety. All female blossoms, every blossom produces a cucumber, and they don't need to be cross-pollinated. If they actually get cross-pollinated, they'll produce seed, and if they're not cross-pollinated, they're a seedless variety. I grew them last year and really liked them. Fully grown, well, maybe 4 inches long, and you harvest them as small as you want to make pickles, whole pickles out of or whatever, but they were also a very good eating cucumber. I don't know if that's in the focus or not. Hopefully it is. It's the cutting leaf celery. I'm thinking that will be planted up at the house. I have a planter that's 4 feet off the ground on my front deck, and I'm going to plant it full of herbs, and I consider that to be an herb. These are my dahlias, dwarf variety of dahlias, and they've done quite well after they've been brought out here. I even see a couple of blossom buds on the top of some of them. They're only supposed to be like 8 to 10 inches tall anyway, so I'm glad I got them out from under the lights, because they tend to grow quite leggy under the lights, but it'll probably be the second week of June before I plant them outside. And the few things that have germinated there, although I guess there's a few more than there were yesterday, are the free lemon cucumber seeds that I got from Annapolis Seeds when I placed my order. They always include something free. And my 5 Norway spruce trees are there as well. They'll be going into gallon-sized grow bags and outside sometime in the next week or two. Well, that concludes the update in here in the greenhouse. Show you maybe my plum trees, and then we'll close this down. I'm not sure if they show up or not, but the plums have just started to bloom today. From my bedroom window on the second floor, I looked down at the top of them, and I could see blossoms that were opened, and I can see even more standing here now. The larger one to the left is the one that will have plums, hopefully, and the other 2, there's a third one in behind there, you may not be able to see too much of, are pollinators. They help that produce more plums. It had flowers last year. They all had flowers, not as many as they usually do. I did not get a single plum. It was a very cold spring, and I'm hoping that was the only issue. I can't think of anything else that it would have been. There just weren't pollinators flying at the time. We might even have had a frost. I'm not sure, but we had a very backward cold spring. All of June was cold last year, so I hope I get plums enough to make plum jam. I haven't had any in 2 or 3 years now, and I love the stuff. I'll close this video off with probably the final look at the Liberation tulips. They're still in their glory, but only a few more days and they'll start to drop their petals. I love the spring flowers, and these have certainly been a great addition this spring. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll get this put together and up on YouTube. It'll be probably a bit later because of my slow internet connection, a bit later than my usual Friday evening one, but I put out a couple of small videos earlier this week, so I sort of planned on this one being a bit later anyway. Thank you for watching.